My name is Sharon Owens. I am 35 years old, and I died for 10 minutes. What Jesus showed me in those 10 minutes changed everything I thought I knew about prayer, about faith, about the way we reach for God. I am not standing here because I have it all figured out. I am standing here because He told me to. He said, "Tell them what you saw." And so that is what I am going to do. I want to be honest with you before I even get started. I was raised Catholic. I grew up with the Rosary draped over my bedpost, with the smell of incense and the sound of Latin prayers I barely understood. I loved it. The ritual, the tradition, the feel of those beads in my hands when I was scared. My grandmother prayed the Rosary every single morning of her life, and I watched her with something close to reverence. So what I am about to tell you does not come from a place of hostility. It comes from a place of love and from what I was shown on the other side of death. The day I died, it was a Tuesday in March. Ordinary as any day gets. I had dropped my kids off at school, I had stopped for coffee, I was driving back home on a road I had driven 1,000 times. And then a truck ran a red light and hit the driver's side of my car at full speed. I don't remember the impact. One moment I was singing along to a song on the radio. The next moment I was somewhere else entirely. And I do not mean I was in a hospital. I mean I was somewhere that does not belong to this world at all. The paramedics told my husband later that I had no pulse for approximately 10 minutes. My heart had stopped. Clinically, medically, by every definition they have, I was dead. My husband was in the parking lot of his office when he got the call. He said he dropped his phone and couldn't pick it up for a full minute because his hands were shaking too bad. He thought he was going to have to tell our kids that their mama wasn't coming home, but I did come home. Because first I had to go somewhere I was not expecting. The crossing. The first thing I noticed was the light. I know that sounds like exactly what everybody says, and I understand if you're skeptical, because before this happened, I was skeptical too. But there is no other word for it. Light. Not the kind that hurts your eyes, the kind that feels like it has been waiting for you, like it knows your name. There was no tunnel for me, no long corridor. It was more like a veil just parted. One moment I was in the wreckage of my car, and the next I was standing somewhere that felt more real than anything I have ever touched in this life. The grass beneath my feet, if that is even what it was, had a quality to it that I cannot explain. Everything had weight and meaning. Nothing was empty. Nothing was background noise. And then I felt him before I saw him. That is the only way I can describe it. A presence so full of love that my knees went weak. I have held my newborn children. I have been loved by a good man for 12 years. I have felt the presence of God in worship in ways that moved me deeply. None of it came close to what I felt in that moment. It was as if every good and perfect thing I had ever experienced in my life was only a shadow, and now I was finally standing in the light that had cast the shadow all along. He looked at me, and he smiled, and I fell apart. Standing before Jesus, I will not pretend I can describe him fully. Language does not stretch that far. What I can tell you is that he was unmistakably Jesus. Not because of a robe or a wound in his hands, though I did see the scars, but because something in me knew him the way you know your own heartbeat. Some recognition that went deeper than memory or theology or anything I had been taught. He said my name. Just my name. 2 syllables. Sharon. And in those 2 syllables I heard my entire life. Every mistake I had ever made, every moment of grace, every time I had prayed and wondered if anyone was listening, every time I had reached for those rosary beads in the dark. He held all of it, and not one piece of it moved him to turn away from me, Sharon. You have been searching for me your whole life. I want you to know. I have always been right here. I started to cry. Not out of fear, out of relief. The kind of relief that comes from finally being fully known and fully loved at the same time. I said, I know you are. I've tried to reach you. I know you have. I have seen every prayer. I have counted every bead. I have heard every whispered Hail Mary in the dark. And I need you to understand something because I am going to send you back, and I need you to carry this with you. What he showed me about the Rosary. This is the part I have wrestled with the most. The part I rehearsed 100 times before I ever told a single person. Because I knew it was going to be complicated. I knew people were going to have feelings about it. And I want to say again that I am not here to attack anyone's tradition or anyone's grandmother. I am here to tell you what was shown to me. He showed me, like a vision within the vision, a woman praying the Rosary. She was kneeling, her eyes closed, her lips moving. She was devout. She was sincere. She was pouring her heart into every word. And I watched her, and I felt such tenderness for her. Because I had been her. I had knelt exactly like that in my grandmother's kitchen and prayed those same words with everything I had. And then Jesus said something that shook me to my core. She is talking to my mother. And my mother loves her. But she is not talking to me. He let that sit for a moment. And then he said, I am the way. Not a way among many ways. The way. There is no mediator between you and my Father except through me. My mother does not carry your prayers to the throne. I do. That is why I came. That is why I died. That is why I rose. So that you would have direct access, not through a saint, not through a sequence of beads, not through any human vessel, however holy, but through my blood, directly, into the presence of the Father. I said, but people love her. People love Mary. It's not disrespect, I know. And my mother is glorified. She is honored. She is in this place and she is full of joy. But she would tell you the same thing I am telling you now. She would say, do not pray to me. Pray to my son. That is what she said at the wedding in Cana. Whatever he says to you, do it. She has always pointed to me. The church has sometimes forgotten to do the same. I was trembling. Not with fear, but with the weight of what I was hearing. Because it was so clean, so direct. There was no cruelty in it. And no condemnation of the people who pray those prayers. Just truth, spoken with the same love that had greeted me when I arrived. The Rosary was designed as a meditation on my life, my suffering, my resurrection. In that sense, it can be beautiful. But when the beads become the prayer, when the repetition becomes the reaching, when Mary's name is spoken more than mine, something has shifted. You do not need a structure to reach me, Sharon. You need me, just me. Call my name. I answer. What he told me, prayer was meant to be. He took me deeper into what he meant. He said prayer was never meant to be a formula, never meant to be a ritual that earns favor or unlocks blessing through repetition. He said, prayer is a conversation between a child and their father. It is not a performance. It is not a script. When you teach your own children to talk to you, do you hand them a sheet of words to memorize? Or do you pull them into your lap and say, just talk to me. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you're afraid of. Tell me what you want. I can handle all of it. That is what I want from you. He said he looks at the heart before he ever hears the words. He said the most powerful prayer he had ever received from me personally was not a Hail Mary, and it was not a memorized blessing. It was a Tuesday night when I was 26 years old, sitting on the bathroom floor after a miscarriage, not saying anything at all, just crying. He said, that night you did not say a single religious word. You just hurt, and you let me in. I was with you on that floor. I never left. That broken silence was more honest than 1,000 repeated prayers, because in that moment you were not performing. You were reaching, and I caught you. I wept when he said that, because I had forgotten that night, or maybe I had buried it because it was too painful, and here he was, telling me he had been there for every second of it, that my worst and most helpless moment was also one of my most connected moments with him. What he said about his mother, I asked him directly. I said, is Mary upset? That people pray to her? That they love her so much? My mother's heart has never changed. She is the same woman who said, let it be done to me according to your word. She submitted to the Father's will completely, more fully than any human being who has ever lived except for me. And that submission did not end when she entered this place. She is not sitting on a throne receiving intercessions. Oh, she is worshiping. She is worshiping the Father with everything she has because she finally sees him fully and she cannot stop. If the people who pray to her could see what she is actually doing right now, they would stop praying to her immediately, not because she would reject them, but because they would understand. She would point them straight to me. There was such gentleness in the way he talked about her. He clearly loves his mother. That came through in every word. This was not a correction born from indifference to Mary. It was a correction born from the same love that drove him to the cross. He said, "She carried me into the world. I carry you to the Father. That is the order. That is the design. Honor her for what she did. But come to me for what only I can do." Why he sent me back. At some point, I became aware that this was not a permanent arrival. Something in the atmosphere shifted, and I looked at him, and I think he saw the question in my face before I could form it into words. "You are going back," I said. "I don't want to." And I meant it. I meant it with every cell in my body. There was nothing about that place that made me want to return to this one. Nothing about the weight and the noise and the uncertainty of being human that I was ready to return to. I know, but your children need their mother, and the people in your life need to hear what you have seen. You came here early. Your time is not finished. I said, "They won't believe me." "Some won't. That is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to tell the truth and trust me with how it lands. Mike, I did not ask you to convince anyone. I asked you to be a witness. Can you do that?" I said yes, and I felt his hand on my face, and everything went white. And then I woke up in a hospital room with my husband crying over me and a nurse shouting something I couldn't quite make out, and my first thought, my very first conscious thought back in this world was, I have to tell them. What I want you to take with you, I have had a year to live with what I was shown. A year to wrestle with it, to sit with it, to ask God if I heard it right. And every single time I have brought it back to him in prayer, the answer has been the same. You heard it. Now walk in it. I am not asking you to abandon your tradition. I am not asking you to throw away your grandmother's rosary beads. I am asking you to examine where your prayer actually lands. Who are you talking to when you pray? Are you talking to Jesus? Are you building a real relationship with the person who says he is the way, the truth, and the life? Or are you going through a structure that was designed to point to him, but that somewhere along the way became the destination instead of the road? He is not complicated. He is not behind a wall of saints and intermediaries. He is not waiting for you to say the right number of words in the right order. He is waiting for you, just you, with your mess and your grief and your doubts and your tired heart. He told me that night on a bathroom floor when I had nothing left, that my helpless silence was enough. Your helpless silence is enough too. Speak it to him directly. My name is Sharon Owens. I am 35 years old. I died for 10 minutes. And the one thing Jesus wanted me to make sure you understood is this. You do not need anything between you and him. Not a saint, not a bead, not a formula, not even your own worthiness. Just his name. Just his blood, just the door he opened when he walked out of that tomb. Call on him. He answers, "Thank you."